Welcome to Mitzvah Expo, the Jewish Community Organization Showcase hosted by Rabbi Cantor Dr. Linda Bernstein.
Shalom and welcome to Mitzvah Expo, a new podcast and website showcasing the organizations and initiatives that enhance Jewish life, fight injustice, support Israel, strengthen our ties to the broader community, and more. I'm Rabbi Linda. Our goal is simple. We want you to get informed and be inspired by the work these valuable Jewish organizations do on our behalf every day. Alongside this podcast, our website at mitzvahexpo.org serves as a companion hub. There you'll find a showcase page for every organization featured on the program, with more information about their work and ways to connect with them. Today, our Mitzvah Expo featured organization is Hebrew Free Loan of San Francisco, a founding member of the International Association of Jewish Free Loans. I'm pleased to welcome Cindy Rogoway, Executive Director. Cindy has been with Hebrew Free Loan for 23 years. She began as the agency's first development director, leading fundraising and marketing efforts, and later went on to oversee the loan program. In 2014, she was named Executive Director, becoming the first woman to lead the organization since its founding in 1897. Throughout her tenure, Cindy has helped expand the agency's impact, enabling countless borrowers to achieve greater financial stability and pursue their goals. Hebrew Free Loan of San Francisco is a nonprofit that provides interest-free loans to people throughout Northern California. Their loans help individuals and families overcome financial challenges, including education costs, small business needs, family life events, temporary unemployment, fertility treatments, and debt consolidation. As loans are repaid, funds are recycled to help others. Their loan repayment rate is over 99.5%. As Cindy stated in a recent article in the Jewish News of Northern California, and I quote, "A big group of people that need loans from us are good, hardworking people trying to make ends meet and build a life for their families, but they can't." Cindy, thank you for joining me today on Mitzvah Expo.
Thank you.
We're so excited to have the Hebrew Free Loan San Francisco as one of our featured organizations and one of our early shows especially. It seems like in my past history, I remember even my parents used to talk about the Hebrew Free Loan, and they knew some of the leaders of the Hebrew Free Loan. So it has kind of a strong kind of resonance in my history. And
That's
so
great.
It's amazing all the work that you've done over the years. But for those of you who are listening who do not know what the Hebrew Free Loan San Francisco is all about, please tell us, Cindy, and what is its core mission?
Sure. What it's all about is that we are here to help people by offering them interest-free loans. We serve all of Northern California and primarily Jewish people, and we help them to get back on track financially if they need a little help and are just really running short on cash for various things that are needed. Or we help people pursue their dreams, and maybe they're able to make their monthly payments and handle their regular living expenses, but they have something they want to pursue, like going to school or starting or expanding a business or creating a family through fertility loans. So we help them in either direction, and we have an amazing 99.9% repayment rate. And people just receive the help they need, and then they pay it back so we can use those funds and recycle them to help other people.
Just the concept of a free loan nowadays is kind of beyond one can even imagine. But the origins of the Hebrew Free Loan San Francisco are very interesting and very modest. Can you tell us a little bit about how it all got started back in 1897?
Sure. It's one of my favorite stories to tell. We started in a very interesting way. It was at the turn of the century, but not this century, a one before. We're now in our 130th year of operations. And we started back in 1897. A short time before that, there were a group of 9 men who were studying Torah at the back of a synagogue every week. And they would study the weekly portion from the Torah. And they read in one of those portions, and it's called a parsha, they read that God tells Moses that you shouldn't charge interest to his fellow people. And Moses took that seriously, and so did we. The idea is that you shouldn't benefit from another person's troubles, and that you should help them without expecting anything in return. And they decided then and there, these 9 men, that they should start this organization because they knew so many people in their community who were suffering back in the day. So they started by each of the people agreeing to put a quarter into the pushka, into a little money pot. And they waited until they had enough money. They did that every single time they studied Torah together. And eventually they had amassed $50. And they made their very first loan in 1897 to a man who needed to buy a push cart to sell his wares throughout the streets of San Francisco. So it was a wonderful thing. He was able to make payments over time. And as the payments came back, they had more money to be able to recycle out to others, and more people contributed to the pot. So today that pot is a little bit bigger and the number of people we serve a lot greater, but it's how we began. And it was a very special connection. We feel very close to those ancestors we have. If you were in my office in San Francisco right now, you'd see pictures on the wall of all the past presidents over the last 130 years. But we've just kept recycling that money to help many, many, many more people that all started with that one concept.
It's a modest but powerful concept, and we have to give a lot of credit to those early visionaries and people who wanted to do a mitzvah, which is what Mitzvah Expo is all about. We want to expose the kinds of mitzvot that people do and the good deeds. And certainly that's one of them. And it helps so many people in so many different ways. And we'll talk about some of those. So how have things changed in the last 130 years for the Hebrew Free Loan? I think you've gone beyond the pushka as a way of accumulating your money to be able to then reuse it to help other people. So what are the sources of the money that you use now to help others? And has it just kind of blossomed because people have been so thankful, and then when they are successful, they then kind of give back even further, and that helps it to grow?
That's a big part of the solution to our cash flow and loan capital question. We actually formed an official full circle club concept back about 15, 20 years ago, where that refers to people who received support, paid off their loan, and then started making donations to pay it forward, which is lovely. That's how we've grown the pot to a certain extent. We've also had a lot of bequests over time from people who were either helped or had helped others by guaranteeing their loans with us, and just straight out donations from the community. We've had such a loving outpouring amount of support from the community over the decades, and we've been able to invest that money and make it grow a little. So a lot of the money that we use to make loans now are coming from basically bequests, outright donations while people are living, and the concept of recycling the loans themselves. One interesting figure along those lines is, and when you talk about it, it's also answering your first part of the question, which is what's changed. Certainly what's changed in terms of process is really almost comical. We only started computerizing our information back in 1990. So until that time, there were ledgers, and somebody sat down and literally hand wrote, of course, on a piece of paper on this ledger, a person's loan, the name, the loan amount, and the payments. Each payment was listed in these ledgers, and we actually have those original ledgers. We just have been involved we're now in round 2 of an interesting archival process, but we have donated our archives to Stanford University, and they have just tons of information. We've also been able to digitize it, and it's just wonderful to look back, and you can almost barely read some of that handwriting. But the figure I was going to give you is that since 1990 until now, so it's been 36 years, at the time, in 1990, we have in our board minutes that we had $4 million in assets at the time. But between then and now, because of recycling and because of people continuing to donate to us, we've been able to disperse over $130 million from what started as 4 million. So it's just an amazing proof that the model works. The recycling works. We're able to help so many more people. The money just keeps going out and coming back and going out again. But there are a lot of other procedural changes that have happened. That's the most notable is the technology. And we also have developed new ways of receiving additional funds. We just started during the pandemic. We needed more loan capital, and we developed this really interesting model in collaboration with the Jewish Community Federation, now called Jewish Federation Bay Area. Mm-hmm. And they pooled. They asked their donor advised fund people put money into something called a donor advised fund at whether it's the Federation or they do it at Fidelity or Charles Schwab, lots of other places do it. But our Federation does a lot of that. And they have, last I heard was over 700. It's probably a lot more now of people who have these funds. And so they turned to those people. What happens is that people get a tax benefit right up front when they give that money to set up a fund at the Federation. And then they can make whatever charitable gifts they want from it. And then, and they don't get additional tax benefit as those donations go out. But it's a great vehicle for a lot of people to use. And the Federation manages all of that and invests the money, but also then gets the money out into the community. So at the beginning of the pandemic, when we had a 230% increase in the number of loan applications, the month of March 2020, everyone can remember what they were doing then. Mm-hmm. Remember that month? So we turned to the Federation and one Friday afternoon and said, we aren't going to have enough money if this continues, and people are desperate. They need to pay for food and medicine and things for their children, and they can't do that if they're not able to go to work. So we worked with them. They turned to their donor advised fund holders and asked people to contribute money to pool it into a big pot. We asked for $5 million. And they loaned that money to us interest-free for a 5-year period. And we were very, very grateful for it. The way that it worked out, they gave it to us in a few tranches. They actually raised $5.6 million, and they raised it in a matter of a few weeks. In the end, there were 51 donor-advised funds, plus money from 2 supporting foundations and money from the endowment unrestricted reserves. And they pooled the money, gave it to us, and we were able to loan it out within 9 or 10 months, along with money that we did have as it was coming back from other people's payments. And we just paid that off a month ago in full. We were making quarterly payments, and just now we're just celebrating that we paid the whole 5.6 million off. And since then, it's really spawned this whole concept of borrowing money interest-free from a pot like that. When we paid it back to the Federation, as we paid it back, it went back into those people's donor advised funds so they could then choose to use it for other charitable purposes. Most of the time, what they're doing is granting. But in this case, they were loaning, and now they can do other things. Some of them have chosen to forward that money again to us in a new tranche. We've now had 3 more big loans from the Federation because we've proven that model, and donors are excited to see the impact with their charitable funds and then be able to choose to do other great charitable things with the same money once it's back.
That sounds like an excellent kind of circle of kind of gift that keeps on giving type of thing. And
exactly.
So for our listeners who are viewers, I want to just remind you that at Mitzvah mitzvahexpo.org, we have a showcase page for the Hebrew Freelance San Francisco, and there are some links there that talk about ways that you can get involved, you can be supportive, you can help to support the efforts of the Hebrew Freelance San Francisco. So please do check it out and take advantage of that. I think for someone who is listening or watching, they're probably wondering, what kinds of loans do you give out? And I was in research for today's program, I was noticing you have like 19 different kinds of loans. Maybe you can just give us a brief overview of some of the most common loans that you end up giving and ones that seem to be the most necessary and in need by the Jewish population in the Bay Area.
Sure. And I will say that overall, our goal is to help the next person walking through the proverbial door. We do most of our loan interviews on Zoom, but anything that they need that's a legitimate need, if they can show that they have the financial need and the ability to at least make monthly payments, hopefully according to our guidelines of the amount, but we do make exceptions. Quite often, we want to make sure it fits a person's budget. So whatever their need, they don't have to worry about what type of loan program we have.
Category is not so important as just the person's need and his or her ability to respond and to reimburse you. Okay,
I would say that's
how long do they usually have to do that?
Oh, okay. And I also do want to tell a little bit about some of those loan categories. They usually have, it depends on the amount they borrow and the type of loan it is. But I would say on average, it's usually around 4 years. And student loans take between 7 and 10 years to pay back because they're paying at a lower amount as they go through. So although I did make the point, and you're correct, that it is whatever they need. They don't have to worry about, or what category do I fit into? But we do have these different loan programs so that we can market it, and it'll plant the seed in someone's mind that they could turn to us for a particular need, such as buying a first home or going to college. When they see these things, or fertility loans, a lot of people don't know that we offer fertility loans. So now that we have an official program, we'd been making those loans for a few decades, but once we created the program, we started getting many more requests because people realized that it was available. That's one reason we create those categories. And the other is some of them are handled a little bit differently, and we have different policies around them. So for instance, recent unemployment loans. If somebody's been unemployed for less than a year, basically, and they need more, they haven't found a job yet, and maybe their unemployment benefits from the government are run out or are running out, they can turn to us, and we can provide a monthly stipend, essentially, but it's a loan up to $20,000. So it's usually over 6 months. And they can receive that. It's the one loan program we have where they aren't required to make a monthly payment right away. All of our other loan categories, people start paying 1 month after they receive the funds. But with the unemployment one, they have to start paying either 3 months after they receive the unemployment loan. I should say 3 months after our last disbursement. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they found a job in month 4. So then in month 7, they would start paying us back. We give them a little time to get their bearings and get at least a paycheck or two. And then if all else fails at the 9-month point, they start making payments to us, even if they're unemployed. And if they can't afford it, then their guarantors can step in to make a payment or two until they can do so.
Cindy, you mentioned earlier that you issue loans that help people get back on track financially. Can you tell us about some of those?
Sure. We help people, whether they are needing an emergency loan, maybe somebody's about to be evicted from their home. We help people with debt consolidation, which is really an important and growing need these days, especially after the pandemic. So many people put their expenses on credit cards because they didn't have enough savings. So it's usually through no fault of people's own money management. They get into trouble for all kinds of reasons, and it can even be from some kind of medical crisis. We can help them, and sometimes they are owing property taxes and they didn't have enough saved up. So there are issues like that. So it helps them in many different situations. We have this active debt consolidation loan program. We have a separate healthcare loan program. And we help, I mentioned earlier, recent unemployment loans. So that's another category that really helps people get back on track. Other people turn to us before they have an expense that goes onto credit cards, or they know the expense is coming. And they're going to go buy a car, let's say, or they have a trip to go visit some relative who's ill. And they will turn to us before they take on that expense. So it's a general needs loan, which sort of covers all the miscellaneous loans that people turn to us for.
Cindy, tell us a little bit about the scope of Hebrew Free Loan San Francisco in terms of the amount of loans that they issue, how many people, how many dollars. Can you give us a bit of a picture of that?
Sure. It's grown pretty exponentially since the pandemic. We became a lot more visible, and we received the support I mentioned from the Federation through the donor advised funds. And we've been able to just make ourselves more known in the community and offer more support. So we today have out active in the community close to 1,800 loans for $22.2 million. That's what's happening in the community, the kind of support that's out there. It's a high number, and we and still maintaining that repayment rate. Just last year, we dispersed $8.6 million in loans to about 600 people. So that's the level of activity, I would say, and it's grown a lot. Prior to the pandemic, we were about half that in those numbers. We had out about 1,000 loans, and we only had out $11 million in loans. So we've grown a great deal and hope to continue growing and giving out more loans and helping more people.
Let's hope so. How do you maintain that 99.9% repayment rate? That's pretty impressive.
I think it's really two things. I have mentioned guarantors. We do expect each loan applicant to have at least two guarantors, which are people in the community, family, friends, who are willing to back the loan and just say, if it came to this, they would make payments on behalf of the person who's receiving the loan. We rarely have to turn to those people once the loan is made, but we do believe it has kept us as successful as we are 130 years later. And it does take a village to make a community happen. And we love that community aspect of it. The other reason is that we get to know people, and it's not just a financial institution. They come to us, they get to know our loan officer, they know the rest of us, they feel really good about repaying the loan. And we make it really clear that as they repay it, it's going to help someone else. And most people are honest, hardworking people who want to make sure another person receives support. So I think that's what keeps it at such a high percent repayment rate.
So you have kind of a safety net built into the system, but also the fact that you develop these relationships makes it much more engaging for people and realize the importance of what they're doing and how they have to give back.
Exactly.
Once they were able to benefit from the loan. Are there any new initiatives that you've put out in the last few years that you want to tell us about?
Sure. We've started a number of new loan programs over the years. And just in the last decade or two, I mentioned the recent unemployment loan program that happened about 2 decades ago. We also started our fertility loan program, the healthcare loan program, and disaster relief for people who've suffered from wildfires at their homes or floods, those kinds of things that have happened that they need instant support for, and often they use it as a bridge until they can get support from insurance or FEMA or whatever else. And we've also, a number of years ago, when there was a big government shutdown, we created a furlough loan program. So it's not needed all the time, thankfully, but we help people get by during those furloughs who are federal workers. And after the Ukraine war, when Russia invaded Ukraine, we can't offer loans outside of the country, but we're able to offer people who live here in Northern California who want to help a relative or a friend in Ukraine by either helping them while they're there, or helping them to leave, or helping them resettle here. So we offer those loans too. And same with when the attack happened on October 7th in Israel, where we continue to offer loans to Israelis who live here who are trying to help relatives or friends in Israel.
So some of the loan programs you have are for non-Jews as well. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, we have a program that we started about 10 years ago that is called the Pollock Community Loan Program. And through the program, we help non-Jewish students from lower income households attend higher education programs, colleges, universities, vocational programs, and we will help them similar to the way we have our other student loan program, which is our largest loan program. But for the non-Jewish students, because we don't have enough money for the program, we can't just offer it to any non-Jewish person who walks in and asks for help, but instead we work with a number, about 20 referral agencies, nonprofits that work in college access and college success. Those kinds of programs, they get to know their students, their high school students really well, and they refer some of those people to us, and then we consider them for loans. It's a wonderful program that is truly gap funding for these kids to get to go to college. And without it, many of these would not be able to go to college. So it gives them that last push, the last financial edge. And it's a wonderful program, but it's only about 10% of our whole loan portfolio. And we look forward to growing it and helping more students as well.
Is the process for evaluating potential recipients of the loans different for each type of loan, or is it pretty much kind of the similar process?
I would say that there are two categories of process. One is most of our loans are they're vetted by our loan officers, our staff. And when they're ready to be presented, we present them on a weekly basis to members of our board and committees who come together to review on Zoom. We review the various loans, and they're the ones who decide yes or no, or couldn't we give a little bit more, or shouldn't we give a little bit less, that kind of thing. That happens on a weekly basis for most of our loans. But our business loan program is a little bit different because we offer up to $50,000 for people who are launching a business or expanding it. And those take a little more process, first of all, with staff to really vet their business loan concept, their financials, their projections of what they'll be bringing in over the next year. And once we have all of this information put together, we build a packet and we invite members of our business loan committee, who are people who've been successful in business themselves, who really understand how to evaluate both the likelihood of a business succeeding, the strength of the guarantors, understanding how likely it is that we'll be repaid is the most important thing. Sometimes people's businesses don't work out, but we find that they pay us back anyway over time. But that gives them the opportunity. So it's a very exciting, wonderful program that harkens back to the very first loan we gave out as an agency, that $5 loan in 1897. So now we're giving $50,000, but because of the amount and because of you have to have knowledge of business operations in order to really evaluate whether it's the right thing to do. And often those meetings are so interesting. Often the members of the committee, they meet directly in that case, with the business loan applicant. The other loans that we have, I just present them to the committee on their behalf. And those people don't meet the committee members making the decision. But with the business loans, it's really a nice relationship they can form, and they get really great questions that make them stronger as entrepreneurs and business owners.
I understand that in addition to financial aid that you provide, you also are kind of like counselors to them as well, in various situations, that you might provide emotional support or other kinds of advice or guidance to help them succeed in life.
Absolutely. We do that for sure. We review their budget with every loan applicant. We review their budget. We give them some financial tips along the way. We end up doing a little bit of marriage counseling at times and other kinds of support that we can offer. And we also have such a wide network of people in the community, mentors and support, that we can connect. Just yesterday, I had somebody ask me if I knew of a patent attorney. And so I'm and as somebody who'd received a few business loans from us in the past, so I'm helping them connect with a patent attorney. So we do a lot to help people. It's not just it's not just like a loan officer at a bank who has a one-time kind of relationship. We here, I just a few weeks ago, I woke up in the morning, started reading my emails, and it was a Sunday morning, and there was an email from some people who'd received a fertility loan, and they were sending me a picture of them holding their brand new infant. Oh. And it was, the baby had been born 4 hours earlier, and wow. They cared enough to send the picture and say thank you. It wouldn't have happened without Hebrew Free Loan. That meant the world to me, as you can imagine.
That's amazing. So it's sort of like the 3 M's. You got the mitzvah, you got the money, and you got the mentoring that you're doing, all three. That's real. Is there a particular misconception, there's another M for you, misconception that people have about the Hebrew Free Loan San Francisco?
Well, it is, first of all, always surprising to me how people who've been donating to us even for decades will say to me, they'll be talking about something and they'll say, so what's the interest rate? Interest rate, it's interest free. And people forget, they don't really process or digest what that means, the impact that has for somebody to pay us back exactly to the penny what they borrowed and not a penny more. And we've never charged, in almost 130 years now, we've never charged a penny of interest. That's the biggest misconception, that even though it's in our name, Hebrew Free Loan, they don't always understand that. Others don't realize that we serve all of Northern California, from basically San Luis Obispo up to the Oregon border. They assume it's just San Francisco or just the Bay Area, but we've always served that whole area. Naturally, it's mostly congregated, both donors and loan recipients, mostly congregated in the Bay Area because that's where the population is primarily living. But we do help a lot of people, especially since the pandemic, when we did go to Zoom and we're able to do more outreach, and people themselves have moved to further, more remote areas, the people in Mendocino and Humboldt, for instance, or San Luis Obispo, where it might be cheaper for them to live and they can work from anywhere for most people's professions these days. So those are two big misconceptions.
One of the things that I wanted to mention, because we are a national program, and there are going to be people from all over the country and potentially the world listening. One of the other hats that you wear is head of the International, help me out here,
International Association of Jewish Free Loans.
Jewish Free Loans. Okay, and let me repeat that. International Association of Jewish Free Loans. So we are in the Bay Area and San Francisco area, but obviously there are Hebrew Free Loan type of organizations all over. Maybe you could just give us a quick overview of what those are like, and how someone who's listening, perhaps they're in Kansas or Boston or wherever they might be, or maybe they're in Israel even, that who would like to find out how they can get a loan if they need it.
Sure. No problem. First of all, I want to make it clear, I did serve on the executive board for 19 years, and I was president during COVID for 2 years. I'm no longer on the board, but still very involved. But it is a wonderful organization that is a collaborative body that works to support and promote the growth of this movement of having organizations get started in communities where they aren't already. We'll call it IAJFL for short. It's the International Association has a total right now of 56 member organizations. the IAJFL started back in 1982, and San Francisco was one of the 4 communities that founded this wonderful international organization. Today, we have a listserv, and we have a conference once a year. We do a lot to support each other. There are lunch and learns and that kind of thing, but it's really to support each other. We all are independent and have our own resources and our own policies and programs, but we are very similar, and we're all serving the Jewish community. About half of them provide loans to Jews and non-Jews, and the other half will only loan to Jews. We can talk about it later. Ours is a little bit of a mix. It's primarily Jewish with one program for non-Jews. But on the website, there's a tool where you can plug in where you are and find the nearest agency, what state you're in. We have added a few. We're in a few different countries. There's one in Israel called Ogun, or that's the largest in terms of assets. It's the largest free loan agency in the Jewish community in the world. It's in Israel. We also have about 5 of them in Canada, and we have one in Brazil, one in Australia, and then the rest are here in America. So, it's close to 50, I guess around 50. One of the newest happens to be the one you mentioned when you said, if you're in Kansas. Mm-hmm. So Kansas City is a newer one, Hartford, Connecticut, San Diego, Orange County, California, Chicago, those are ones that have started in the last 10 years or so. So it's wonderful to see new organizations grow, and we're here to help them thrive as well.
That's great information for anyone who is in need of a loan, wherever they might be. A Jewish organization that does this is probably in your area, and it's good to check it out with that website. So in our closing here, I just wanted to know, Cindy, if there's anything in particular that you would want our viewers to know about Hebrew Free Loan San Francisco. How can they get involved? How can they help to contribute toward the wonderful work that you do?
Thank you. Well, certainly if anyone needs a loan, or if anyone listening knows someone who needs a loan, we hope they'll reach out to us. I know you're providing that information. They'll be able to see it. You can look on our website to get a lot of information about what's available. And you can also call, and there's someone who will answer the phone and talk you through the type of loan that you might need. And you also, if anybody wants to get involved and be involved on committee and help us with this, we'd love to hear from you as well. I'd be happy to talk to anybody and figure out ways to get people involved in helping us grow. We have a large governance system with a 25-member board and with over 50 committee members who help us make decisions and give us their wisdom. So there's that as well. And I just think it's really important to know that there's a resource that you can turn to the community. The role that we play is to help people as a family would help them, to be able to offer the support when they need that helping hand, and let them remain fully responsible and feeling like they have their dignity intact as they repay the loan. And it's a wonderful mitzvah, as you said, and it's like the mitzvah itself gets recycled over time. So we look forward to serving the community. Our motto is that we want to help more people and help people more.
That's wonderful. Cindy Rogoway, Executive Director of Hebrew Free Loan San Francisco, thank you so much for joining me today. And please, anyone who is listening, please do check out mitzvahexpo.org, and you'll find out all the information that you need about Hebrew Free Loan San Francisco on one of our showcase pages. And also, you have your own website. You may just want to mention that.
We do have our own website. Yeah. So it is hflasf.org. So it stands for Hebrew Free Loan Association San Francisco.org.
Thank you, Cindy, so much for joining me today.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
My special thanks to Cindy Rogoway, Executive Director, Hebrew Free Loan San Francisco, for joining us today and sharing the important work of this 130-year-old organization with our Mitzvah Expo listeners. To learn more about Hebrew Free Loan San Francisco initiatives and about other organizations featured on the program, visit our showcase pages on mitzvahexpo.org. While you're there, we invite you to join the Mitzvah Expo community so you can stay up to date on future programs, featured organizations, and events. We invite you to also share a mitzvah you've done in your own life or community. Your good deed may inspire others and help highlight the many ways people can make a difference. You can listen to Mitzvah Expo on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and listen or watch on YouTube, and of course at mitzvahexpo.org. If you enjoyed the program, please follow or subscribe so more people can discover the inspiring work happening across the Jewish community. And we'd love to hear from you. Please write to me at rabbilindabernstein@gmail.com with your comments and suggestions for future featured Jewish organizations. Get informed, be inspired. For Mitzvah Expo, I'm Rabbi Linda Bernstein.
You've been listening to Mitzvah Expo. Learn more at mitzvahexpo.org.
Mitzvah Expo is a production of Vita Media Corporation.